we aren't going to recover under this obfuscation of the currency. That is, as it can only multiply artificial indebtedness into further greater proportions of insoluble debt in respect to our capacity to service that debt. This situation can only get worse, and in fact, it generally, as we've shown, only gets worse at an ever escalating rate because in order to maintain a vital circulation, we're borrowing back into circulation ever greater sums of interest on an ever greater sum of artificial, falsified indebtedness to the banking system. So, in our Reader's Digest version or our Citizen's Digest version of solution, what we're doing simply is rectifying the improprieties of this obfuscation of the currency, and this means that in mathematically perfected economy, we establish all in practically a moment. That is, if we prepare to do this by developing the accounting system, which basically exists in every bank of the world at this point in time, save for the, there isn't really any process of truly certifying creditworthiness, because it's impossible to certify creditworthiness in a credible way under this system, because its multiplication of artificial indebtedness changes the conditions. That is, while a person might be solvent and able to service a certain sum of debt today, tomorrow they have effectively a share of a greater sum of debt, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after as well, until eventually, while we might certify that they were creditworthy under today's conditions, under tomorrow's they would not be. So we have inevitable failure. We are not going to recover. We can change this to the only justified system in as little as a fraction of a day, and we can do that even virtually without cost. So this is the Reader's Digest system, Reader's Digest version of true recovery. That is, recovering to a true freedom to prosper to the full extent of our capacities and willingness to incorporate those capacities into prosperity, which is something which is impossible under the present system because of all the costliness that it imposes upon us, which of course prevents us from being able to afford to do the things that we are capable of doing. So people ask many questions, and in last week's program, I interviewed Jason Draper, chairman of the Independent Party of Canada, who's running for Parliament currently on a platform of mathematically perfected economy. Jason and I reviewed our interview just a couple of days ago, and he brought up some further points which were quite interesting, and I was really quite gratified to witness the great mastery that he has of this concept of mathematically perfected economy. And one of the points that he raised was that people think that this might take some time, and they wonder, why they should vote for him, thinking that he's just one person. How is he possibly going to be effective? And this is something that all of us should give very serious consideration because, of course, uh, the revolutions in the world which have established republics and constitutions, uh, of course, arose from the very need of of people who desire self-government to recognize that their fates are always in their own hands, and that there is one thing by which we prevail, that is, that justice prevails, universal justice for all. And that one thing is the truth. And it's particularly the truth when the object that we desire to achieve can be achieved by irrefutable arguments that there is a singular means for achieving a singular set of objects which serve the people in common. And that, of course, is the case with mathematically perfected economy. So the question of why, for instance, the people of Canada should be concerned about electing Jason Draper immediately is that they should realize that having just one advocate of the truth by irrefutable arguments would put the government of Canada in a position where when Jason Draper introduces to Parliament our mandate for mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation, which mandate itself embodies these irrefutable arguments, that the case is this, and this is, again, repeats our Citizens Digest version of solution, how we are going to implement and achieve and establish solution. This puts the Parliament, the government of Canada, as it would any government of any country of the world, into a position where it's a proven fact that if it does not adopt mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation, it absolutely cannot serve its people. In fact, the case is even worse than that. It is more condemning than that. The mere submission of this mandate puts the opposing government in a position of treason against its people. And we should understand this very clearly now from the previous 20 programs, which reflect over 40 years of my life's work. Mathematically perfected economy has been presented to every president since and including Gerald Ford, to many of the candidates, to many congressmen. Why has it not been adopted? Is there a politician in history, even future, present, or past, who can disprove that there is one and one only solution for inflation, deflation, and maldisposition? Is there any politician in history, future, present, or past, who can prove or has proven that there is more than one solution for systemic manipulation of the cost or value of money or property? Absolutely not. Is there any politician in history, future, present or past, who can prove or has proven that there is more than one actual just solution for inherent, irreversible, and therefore terminal multiplication of artificial indebtedness by interest over debts which in fact are not even truly, logically, or rationally owed to these purported banking systems? Absolutely not. This is one of the greatest crimes in history. If it is not the greatest crime in history, wars have been fought. So these mere money changers could profit from either side winning the war, with the losing side in the reconstruction requiring all this further indebtedness, which only exacerbated this multiplication of artificial indebtedness and dispossession by this ever unjustified imposed system of exploitation. So this is what we have to understand. The Citizens Digest version of this is that we have failure. We have inevitable failure. We cannot recover from this. There is one and one only solution only. We can implement that solution, and we must implement that solution as soon as possible, and we can implement it in as little as a day, even virtually without cost. After that, we have solved perpetually inflation, deflation, and maladisposition. The eradication of interest, an obligatory schedule of payment under mathematically perfected economy automatically at all times maintain a circulation which is equal to the remaining value of represented wealth. This is the only thing that can maintain an immutable tokenization of value in the currency. It is the only, therefore, just currency. Mathematically perfected economy is the only solution for systemic manipulation of the cost or value of money or property, because systemic manipulation of the cost or value of money or property is only solved by the integral solutions of our first categoric fault and our third categoric faults, with the third being inherent, irreversible, and therefore terminal multiplication of artificial indebtedness by interest, which of course is caused by interest and is solved by eradicating interest, which of course is not owed to a purported banking system, which merely publishes evidence of our promissory obligations to each other, and therefore the only lawful consideration at risk is the mere cost of publication. So this is nothing but a criminal act against every people. And when one person elected to office presents this mandate for mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation, the government that drags its heels even is a criminal against its own people. It is a treasonous government which we must replace with a just government, which we must deny has any authority over us, or we will be the subjects of its injustices. It has no inherent or derived authority from the people, because it has no mandate to act against the people. So we have to understand how criminal these governments are, and how powerful the fact is that there is one and one only integral solution for the categoric faults of any prospective monetary thesis, with, of course, the present imposed banking systems being of perhaps, it's difficult to think that a more criminal pretended economy could be imposed upon us, because anything worse